with that, I'm actually going to turn it over to Amanuel to present about Select Concierge.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to tell you about me and Select Concierge Travel Agency, how it came about, my background and everything. The challenge question that I'm presented with is how do I acquire more 35 to 55-year-old women, clients, professionals with children who want to travel as a family? What is the secret behind women the ages of 35 to 55 is that is the key persona. That is the person that decides travel related services, whether it is for families, whether it's for weddings, whether it's for businesses, for everything that you can think of. You can look at yourself in the mirror and see how that happens in every organization. And they are my ideal persona that I want to reach out to. Select Concierge provides a personalized luxury travel. I do it on my own. I am a solo entrepreneur. I've been doing it for over 25 years. I'm very passionate about the travel industry, tourism, and helping people. But I understand it holistically and how it could impact the lives of everybody, communities, businesses, and everything else connected to it. So the when did Select Concierge start, and how did it come about? I used to live in Michigan. I went to Grand Rapids, Michigan, to school in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and after I got done with school, I started working with the dwelling place, Hope Network projects, working in a nonprofit organization that dealt with housing, community development, community relations, and everything, whether it's homelessness issues, battered women, drug-related issues, community revitalization, policing, all those kinds of things combined. I was doing that. I did it at a pretty good level, and I loved and did it passionately for a while. And I ended up coming to DC for a conference. And when I came to DC for a conference, I ended up meeting a large portion of my community. I'm from Eritrea originally. I came in the 80s, during the Reagan era, as a refugee. So we have an immigration lawyer. So she probably heard the kind of stories that I could tell a million times. And so I have a pretty interesting story. I fled home early on, and then I came to the United States in the 80s. And so when I came to DC, I ended up meeting my wife in DC, and I didn't know what to do. And her friend got me a job at a hotel in DuPont Circle and Hilton, and as a concierge. And I didn't know anything to do. She said, "You're smart enough, you can understand it." And so I basically got immersed into the position and had to learn it holistically to understand what it means to the businesses there, what it means to the customers that were coming and getting the services from me, what it means to the vendors that were providing the services, how the hotels were reaching out to all these different people, who was making all the decisions. It became a project, and I wanted to make that a part of my business. And so I became a tour guide. I was working at a hotel as a concierge in a lot of different places. I learned the business deeply and got related with travel related industries, all the Destination DC, Visit Fairfax, Stay Arlington, all those different organizations. I worked with them, tried to understand how they're approaching their businesses. And so I learned it, and I'm very excited. And so uh, I worked on it for a while, but unfortunately, and I was doing really good with it, COVID hit, and I had to change my perspective from a concierge services to uh, to a different kind of a mode, and that became a travel agency. So Select Concierge is now a travel agency that provides comprehensive concierge services and travel agency services that could do a lot of different things. So we Select Concierge could serve all kinds of could solve all kinds of problems related to the travel industry. If you have an accessible need that you want to travel around the world, we can make that happen for you, give you the options to let you know what's available and how you can go about and do it. Passports, visas, luggage services. A lot of people would have a hard time trying to figure out where to go these days. If you're doing a cruise, it's not going to be easy to decipher which direction to go. Well, there's all-inclusive vacations. There are companies in the United States, and a lot of hotels due to COVID, they got rid of their concierge departments, and so they need assistance. For example, yesterday I was in a residency in Marriott. It was a networking session, and I was talking to the general manager and explaining to her, what we do, and she said, "This is the services that we need. We have weddings, and we need to be able to to provide transportation, wine tours, all kinds of needs that they have." And so it's an all-in-one solution providing platform for travel-related, concierge-related services. And this is something that this community definitely needs, and could use. And I have the experience and the ability to back up everything that we are talking about. How do we make the money? It's generally the travel agencies work based on commissions for a lot of the travel vendors around the world. So we are the conduit for them. And so that for every travel that we sell, any package that we sell, we get a certain percentage. And also, for a lot of the times, when people need to plan for a lot of things, we charge a small fee up front and to be able to come up with itineraries to help, at least guide them to the direction that they want to go. So we offer quite a bit of services, whether it's transportation, safari, cruises, all-inclusive vacations, like I said earlier, travel, services like handicap accessible services, tours, safari, transportation, private jets, you name it, everything is available to us. And I think this is something that this community could use, and it is needed, and it's also a major economic engine for communities. And the travel industry is a very, very prominent industry. It's 400 over 500 billion US dollars in 2022 globally. In the US, it's about 377 billion US dollars, and there are about 359 million jobs worldwide. It's about 10% of world GDP that the travel industry is a part of, and it is a major economic engine. And I'm here to be a part of it, and you can tell me how I'm doing with the time. So
Yeah, Manuel, we have about less than a minute left. So what I might recommend is let's have you just speak to competitors, and then I'm going to hand it over to Scott Alford to actually moderate. So if you want to wrap us up in less than 30 seconds on this slide and how you're different, then we'll go into Q&A around your challenge question.
the competitors are the Expedias, the Booking.com, and all those different booking companies. They do not provide the personalized services. we are here, we are local, and we are going to be able to talk to us, and we are here with you. That is the main difference.
All right, fantastic. So we are going to switch to our question and answer portion for Emmanuel. So if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand. Raise your hand in the chat if you go to the bottom of your screen. So it looks like we have a couple of raised hands already. So I am going to kick it off with Alyssa and then James. So go ahead, Alyssa.
Yeah, hi, Emmanuel. Nice to meet you. My question is to get a little bit more specific. I think at one point you mentioned luxury travel, but then you also mentioned kind of women between the ages of 35 and 55, but also professionals with children. So is there one, is it kind of all encompassing as in what like luxury travel of, parents and families? Or are those kind of two separate entities, do you think?
Ideal person is somebody with an expendable income that is going to be able to travel to, for example, from California to Washington, D.C. She's going to bring her kids and she's going to be able to stay in a hotel, and they're going to spend 4 or 5 days, and they're going to do all the different activities, and that requires a specific amount of income. So, that it's going to be at least people with expendable income. They talking about, I don't know exactly what the median income is around the country, but generally that is the middle class or upper middle class persona is what I'm thinking about. And that I think qualifies almost as a luxury, but that's what I'm looking at.
Am I allowed to give recommendations?
Yes, go right ahead,
Okay.
please.
I took a look at your website, and I will say that I think from a branding perspective that's a good place to start. If you are thinking that your idea is families, your website's good. It's very easy to use, but it is not like telling a story. And I think that that's kind of going to be people's first introduction to you. Another avenue that you might want to reach into is using influencer marketing to kind of elevate your travels. There are a number of DC kind of like influencers who will promote certain brands and services for maybe not that much, not that much on a marketing budget, but it might be helpful to connect you with that female audience. A lot of mothers who are between the ages of 35 and their early 40s are millennials, which is my generation. And there's definitely I think a different kind of marketing perspective or brand feel that millennial women want, right? And if they're going to book through a concierge service, there definitely is a market for that, both in Fairfax County and beyond. But I think that it has to do with the feel of the brand and connecting women with other women who trust your service to grow in that area. I can't speak to women over, in their early 40s to 55, but I think that would be a good start to capture that kind of younger portion of that market.
May I answer?
Sure,
Yeah,
if it makes sense. Yeah, absolutely. This is a conversation.
I think it's an awesome suggestion. As far as the website is concerned, you are on point, 100%. It used to be a travel agency, concierge services. So there were a lot of tours. So now I am remaking the website, and a lot more stories are going to be there on the website related to the kind of audience that you're speaking to. Put a lot of blogs, value proposition articles that kind of speak to the people that you're talking about, and I have all that lined up, and I'm going to work on it. It's just populating the website, and sometimes trying to juggle all of that kind of takes a little bit of time, but I am 100% with you, and I'm working on that.
Awesome. Great.
Fantastic. All right. I'm going to hand it over to James for his questions and comments.
Good morning, Emmanuel.
Hi, James.
Welcome to 1 Million Cups. That was awesome.
Thank
you
you.
very much. So Alyssa actually pointed out a few things that were in my head. So thanks for doing that. This is probably going to be more a thought more than a question. I don't see that acquiring 35 to 55-year-old women clients is your problem. Like, I think there's a lot of different ways from a strategy standpoint you can get in front of them. I look at this and just listening to what you've said and what we're actually seeing on websites is this to me just feels like a more positioning problem. Like you, from what I see and what I hear, and for someone who does a lot of travel, especially cruising in the Mediterranean and so on, I think it's more a case for you, Emmanuel, of stating, like putting a stick in the ground or a pole in the ground saying, this is what we are the best in the world at doing. If you're this and you want this, like we're the people you want to come to. And I'm not really seeing that. I'm not seeing how you're differentiating yourself from kind of any other travel agency. And as you said, you're going to work on your website, so that positioning might change. But I would suggest to you that if you want women of an age group with a family who have disposable income, tell us that's what you want, like front and center. This is who we cater to. So, you know, when you start to look at really, when I hear concierge, I think high end. That's kind of what I think about, right? The only cruise line I go on is Viking. That's the only one I go on. Why? Because there's no families on it, right? So that's specifically for me, right? I do a bunch of Viking cruises and there's no casinos, right? It's more an intellectual cruise than I would call like a party cruise, if you will. So there's a demographic there of a certain mindset that you want to get. And I just think if you just reposition your business to be very specific around them, the acquisition of the client then doesn't really become the problem. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Position the problem and how you solve it first.
Well,
That's how you
position the
attract-
client, Emmanuel. That's what I'm saying. Like be very clear about who it is you are going after versus, hey, we're a concierge travel agency. It's almost like, you know, people who specialize in doing safaris, like that's all they do. So they've got a very clear, people who want to do that are very clear about who they want to use. And I just have a little bit of a trouble like meshing the concierge high end, we do all these things to the people that you want to get, my friend. So I get where you're going, and I think this is the way you should do it. I just think you've got a little bit of a positioning and messaging issue that's probably more important than your challenge, because if you fix that, you'll fix your challenge question. If that makes sense.
That makes sense. Do you have maybe an example of how you think it should be positioned?
Yeah, go look at high end companies that have a very specific demographic, right? I mean, I'll take Viking. Just go look at see what they do. Viking are very clear. They're not for families. If you're a family, don't come here. If you want a casino, don't come here. Right? They do talks on Greek mythology, and I mean, this is the guy that owns the company is very clear that this is an intellectual. This is for an intellectual type individual. All right, it's not a party cruise, although it is a lot of fun. So all I'm saying is that's a little bit of work, but you got to be very upfront and say this is who we're for. That's all. And by the way, I'm happy to spend some time afterwards and kind of give you some pointers about what that might look like. But I think you fix that, you fix your challenge question.
Absolutely. Thank you. I will do that.
All right, my friend. Sorry, Jen. I know I was rabbiting on. Sorry. Jen's like, shut up.
No, you're great. No, those are great insights, James. I now have the urge to book a Vikings cruise today. So see, what he just said works, right? Find your target demographic and give the message that would resonate with them. So I'm going to hand it over to Jen, who has questions and comments.
Your personal brand, James, has altered in my mind now that I know you like Vikings. Cruises. That's fascinating. I think Emmanuel, great feedback from Alyssa and James on messaging and market. I would think about what are marketing campaigns for attracting these clients so that it's not just updating your website, but looking at things like Leesburg Magazine, McLean Living Magazine, publications that go to higher end clientele with disposable income, where you can also tell that story of, it could be if you have family, your kids are getting ready to graduate, and you want to go on a really meaningful family cruise or trip. Here's a great, we can help with that. If you have young kids, we can help with that. But I think finding those case studies that you have and figuring out a blend of print and digital to get in front of people is definitely an avenue to consider.
Thank you. The Leesburg magazine, what's the second one?
McLean Living Magazine, I'll put all of this in chat so you can have access to the chat afterwards and get all the details.
All right. I have a quick question or thought. I think a lot of what has been talked about, I think, is really important. I think a lot of it is, if you spend some time mapping out your customer journey, I think that would be extremely valuable in the case of this business. So thinking about, and this ties together a number of the comments from Alyssa, from James, from Jen, of understanding and thinking about where the audience that you really want to speak to is at, because it's not just a matter of, so getting marketing in front of people is really important, but you want them to connect with your story. Because the thing about travel, and I'm somebody who travels all of the time during the year, both for work and for pleasure, so I'm on the road constantly, and a lot of it is having most people don't actually like the travel portion. They like the destination. So it's a lot of focusing with people and telling that story of the destination that you want to go, and building off one of the points that James hit on, and I think is so valuable and is so important, which is understanding the pain point that your ideal clientele want to avoid. Not everyone travels for the same reason, and you want to have an understanding. If you want to reach a certain audience, they probably have a certain anxiety around travel that you want to be the best person at addressing that anxiety, because that's where you're going to get a real edge in the market. But we have some great questions from folks that have even better insights. So let's go with Reggie and then John Norse. So Reggie, I'm going to hand it off to you.
Sure, thank you. A great presentation, Emmanuel. I think what came to my mind was a lot of what others have said. I think going to your website, there's a lot of information, and I would consider how you can pare that back. And how I would go about it is talking to clients that you've already worked with, and really identify from them, why they work with you, or why they would want to work with you. So doing some of that, focus group, market research type of stuff, which will aid you in being able to figure out how you position yourself and what stories to tell, because it's clear that you can do everything, but I think for people that come to you, like they don't want to do everything, right? They want to do maybe one specific thing. So I think identifying what are those 3 or 4 core things that you do that you can really specialize in. You'll never not be able to do everything. That's part of the appeal of working with you. But I think in terms of how you put it in front of customers, I think you want to become known for like a couple of things that you're like the very best at, while you have the ability through your network and skill and expertise to be able to pull in all these other things. So just paring down the options that you put in front of people, so it's a little bit easier for them to choose, and then it becomes a little more clear for them to know, you know, exactly how you bring value to their situation.
Thank you, Reggie. I'll take that.
All right, excellent. I have John Norris and then John Foster, all of the Johns.
Hey, good morning, Emmanuel. I had a question. I believe I met you obviously a
Hi,
few weeks
Jeff.
ago at the live in person one. I remember you talking about how your business was going to be trying to attract obviously people that are staying in hotels or local residents doing these, you know, engaging experiences in the Northern Virginia area. And there was a person, I believe from Bethesda, that was on Shark Tank, and I think their business was called Certificate or something. And their business model is they basically make it an online, they send newsletters out to people saying, hey, you know, whatever, buy tickets for this event, buy, you know, they promote it, and they obviously get a percentage of revenues from that. So, you know, trying to put together some of the previous comments, like I agree with what James was saying about identifying who you are. I'm saying, like, is it the kids that you want to use as like the attractiveness to do events as a family, or is it Jen Dalton because she's 35 and her group of girlfriends want to do something together? Like, I just think it's, you know, you have to kind of define what you really want. And I think, again, just to echo, a website that really clearly says what you're doing or what your mission is.
There's just a lot of options to choose from, and I think the ideal woman, 35 to 55, does a lot. She covers quite a bit, but you are absolutely right. Focusing on one subject matter that I can work with. I think that's what you're talking about. I think having an event that reflects that within a community is going to also create a connection and give me more opportunities to be able to reach out to communities. And that's one of the approaches that I'm taking. I want to come back and present about that event at some point because it's in the works. And so I agree with you. Thank you.
All right. John Foster.
There we go. Unmuted. Good morning, Emmanuel. Good to see you. Love the presentation, and
Thank you, John.
I will. I'll talk about what I know best, and that's going to be LinkedIn. Because one of the things you want to get is consistency, and that's from your own personal LinkedIn page. And I think a lot of what's been brought up here is talking about the niche that you want to serve. And then also just thinking about, you know, the demographics behind LinkedIn. You know, LinkedIn has grown tremendously, and it is a, you know, business platform. But if you think about the, you know, the professional women that you potentially want to serve, that's going to be women that are working, that may want to travel with their families. And so there may also be other business aside from that as well. But, you know, trying to find the niche that you want to serve, I think is going to be, I think the message has come across multiple times today. But I would definitely take a look at your LinkedIn profile, your, you know, your profile, and then as you're determining that market that you want to serve, you're going to gear your LinkedIn profile towards that.
I think I just optimized it, and now I have to kind of change the banners and everything else to fit. Previously, I had it for concierge services. Now it's going to be for travel services, and it's going to. We started doing it, but it's not completed yet. So I agree. I totally agree. LinkedIn is big. It has changed quite a bit, and we need to be able to address it. And I have a good size following. I've been working on that. It's optimized. We just have to change the imagery now. So We're good. Thank you very much.
All right. That is some great insight. John is absolutely right. LinkedIn is such an important tool for reaching your audience, especially a high-end audience. Jen.
Sure. As a 35-year-old, I did want to recommend that, I think if you pick 3 segment groups, let's say women business owners or women who want to travel with their girlfriends. So I actually appreciate that shout out. And I'm not 35, I'm 29. I think for families too, what I wanted to recommend was partnering with local businesses. For example, a friend of mine has a wine business. Maybe host a dinner with women, right? A lot of travel, I think the work you want to do should be word of mouth, where people get to know, like, and trust you and recommend you. So you could do a travel dinner where it's, hey, let's explore wines from Europe. If you're interested in traveling to Europe, come, have the wine sommelier share. Here's what you need to know about these regions if you want to travel to a vineyard. But have sort of these packages as a starting point for discussion. Maybe you host a dinner with a chef who cooks meals from a certain region that you want to highlight. So think about ways you can interact locally to market and sell internationally. It might be a good way to connect. And again, you're collaborating with other business owners where if 2 people are trying to get people to an attend event, it's much better than just one person. And it's more intimate and it's on point with the brand I think you're trying to convey, which is thoughtful, intentional, and experience. And it's about creating connection. So those are different demographics and than necessarily a family, but I think those same groups would be interested in having a travel service provider. So just a couple thoughts.
Thank you.
All right.
Actually, it's
Reggie.
very exciting. Actually, it's very exciting when you think about that. Just setting up an event. It's like Al Tiramisu Italian restaurant. Just get a wine tour in out of Loudoun County, and just make an event. Just put some jazz in there, and just so create an environment. So that's all in the works, and I'm so glad and excited that everybody's thinking along the same line that I'm thinking. So that's a good thing.
Yes. So I was thinking like if you sort of use the word like international or something similar to that, like it kind of excludes the idea of domestic travel, which a lot of people are more inclined to maybe handle themselves. And it's already got people thinking about, all right, multi-day, multiple people, and there's a lot, to do with overseas travel. Like that's just one way to kind of focus in on an audience, so, and you can become kind of known for that. And then thinking about like different moms groups that are out there where people meet like informally, just trying to connect with some of those groups as a resource. So there's different like Facebook groups and things like that. So
I think one of my challenges is, you're absolutely right. One of my challenges is I have been a local concierge, familiar with the area. I'm very familiar with, the Cherry Blossom Festival. It's global, but it's also local. Are you talking about all the memorials? That's also local, but it has to be able to reach out to this communities is to be able to have customers for your feature. So if you are in Virginia, you are looking at a certain demographic, just that's interested to learn about the history of this country. You can expand on the history of this country. For example, Black history in Virginia is really something that is not, and it's not only for Black people. Everybody is interested to know. You just have to be able to highlight it. If you talk about You go to, Mount Vernon, you see how the people live there, the slaves that live there. You go to Arlington Cemetery, the plantations out there, there are burial graves. Talk about throughout the state of Virginia. And so the state of Virginia becomes a part of what you do. And so I am listed for that purpose on State of Virginia website. I'm listed on the Visit Fairfax, Arlington, and all these different organizations I've been a part of for a while. And I want to be able to reach out to these people, and these are the people that I actually want to be able to sell international travel to and everything else as part of a long-term consumer base. So just to give you a little bit of expanded version of how I process my thoughts. Because I had connection with it for a long time. I worked with it for a long time. I saw the decision-making people, just on a daily basis for years. Just when you are a concierge standing in front of people, you see who is bringing the kids, who is, doing the meeting planning, the decision, everything. So that's the persona that you're dealing with, but the kind of services that you provide, to Jen's point, is to make sure that you customize it to reach out to all the different categories, because a lot of families are different than what we used to know it in the past. And so you got to make sure that you understand that aspect of it. So I just want to throw that in there.
All right, so we have Dan Lender and then James, and then we're gonna wrap up for announcements in our final question. So Dan Lender, love to hand it off to you.
Thank you, Scott. Amanuel, thank you very much for presenting. The best information that I think one of the best recommendations I ever got was from James Bond Lawson. The tall Scotsman was know who your customer is and who you want your customer to be. As I'm thinking about this, the difference between 35-year-olds and 55-year-olds, different demographics, and obviously you want folks that are actually going to spend money. So I think the 55-year-old, as they're going on trips and they have more disposable income, not to stereotype, but often have more disposable income. And so creating that experience, I think, Jen or somebody talked about that, was, creating the experience and, for that group, because they're willing to pay for, a greater level of service, right? In our business, Golden Rule Home Watch and Concierge, the term concierge is used for a lot of things. And so I don't know that it's the best term in your case. And I think I spend a fair amount of time responding to people, I used to at least, responding to folks who would look at the concierge and not understand exactly what they meant. So I used to spend time telling people that I don't do what they want, right? So you don't want to do that as well. So it is I think you got to place your bet on which population you're going to serve, and whether it's international or local. I think you have to pick a group. Not to say you can't change it later, but I think you have to pick your group. Hope that helps. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. All right,
Thank you, Dan.
and let's wrap up with James Lawson.
So, Emmanuel, there's been a lot of stuff thrown at you, right, in the last little bit. But there was a question that came up in the chat, like, are you interested in providing local, regional, US-based travel services, right? So I will tell you, I'm just a little bit unclear, but that's okay. Sometimes it's just me. There may be an opportunity if you, because you spoke a lot about Virginia, right? But there might be an opportunity for you to put some thought into rather than the client base, like the demographic, to Dan's point, is the experience, right? So I'm going to call Viking out again, right? But you might want to think about, if you're going to do a local thing or Virginia thing, right? We've got a history thing, we've got a fun thing, we've got a other thing, versus locations. Like, what's the experience you want to have, right? And people will gravitate to an experience before they'll gravitate to anything else when it comes to travel. And being really clear about that, the problem that most people have doing it themselves versus you. I love Concierge. I'm a big fan of a Concierge. But you need to, I still think you need to be really clear about the experience that they're going to have and what you're going to set them up for. And you become really good at doing the experience thing, because not everybody is, right? Not everybody is good at doing the experience thing. The other thing I was going to ask you, if you don't mind, like, do you want to serve 5,000 clients or do you want to serve 500 high-end clients? Because you want to think about that as well.
I totally agree that I would rather focus on a smaller number with
Right.
high yielding consumers is what I'm looking at. And
Right, because that's a whole different message and positioning, right? So that's something else that you want to think about as well. Is, you know, I would rather deal with 500 people giving me, you know, $30,000 than 5,000 people giving me $500 because they're just so much work, right? So there's a different mindset in terms of that audience as well. So it's just something to consider as you go through this process, buddy. But awesome, love it.
Great. Lots of food for thought. And with that, we're going to start moving towards our final question and announcements. So we would love to ask the question, what can our 1 Million Cups community, how can we help you today?
Just basically get the word out. You know, if you have businesses to travel, utilize my services. If you have any questions, you know, send me email, text me, whatever. And I am setting up events, trips based in Virginia. In other words, groups. If there's a group that you have to do an annual program, just per James point, and then to be able to organize these trips and to be able to do that annually to different places. And this is the kind of stuff that I can arrange. And I'm going to do events like expos that brings in a lot of the vendors, that connects them with the family, with the organizations and families that are here, and we'll be able to bring travel to the Fairfax area, and so people know exactly what kind of services are available, and and I would like you to be a conduit for me to be able to help me to get the message out. And so all this input is amazing. That's basically what I would want.
Great. Thank you, Amanuel. And if you have any other thoughts or comments, please put your information in the chat and save the chat so that you are able to follow up from this meeting. This is just the start of a conversation. All right. And for our next week's presenter, we have Town Hall. And I'll hand it over to Jen. Do you have any more insight into what Town Hall will be speaking about?
It's a surprise.
Jen,
Actually, you wanted to open up to the group.
Jen,
you know,
before you
reset
go,
me.
can I say something?
Oh yeah, of course. Go ahead, Emmanuel.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to all of you for your input, for for being kind enough, community oriented, to be able to do this kinds of things to help businesses. And it's really amazing that this kind of things happen. And I think it probably only happens in this country, and you see it in every community all around the country, and it's amazing. So this is kudos to the 1 Million Cup. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to attendees today. Our James Lawson and Reggie Holmes and John and Dan, we love having you guys here and providing insight. So thank you. The town hall, it's really an open forum where in the past we've presented about marketing and AI. So if folks in the room have a topic you'd like to throw out there or a question that you think we could bring up, that's one way where we can just group ideate and pull together something for next week. So just something to think about. If you would like to be an organizer, let us know. We have a team so that it's many hands make light work. It's a great way to network and again, build relationships. So if anybody wants to join in, let us know. Upcoming events, so you can scan the QR code and go to the Central Fairfax Chamber of Commerce. They are great at pulling in a list of events. I also highlighted a couple here. There's a Start a Business SBDC workshop on the 15th. Cybersecurity, those are past dates, my bad. On 1:30, Tech and Cyber Networking Hiring Fair. So I would consider looking at that. If anybody wants to go to the Chocolate Lovers Festival as a follow-up for fun, we'll be there. Tess is running a lot of that as well. So, let us know. Maybe that's what we should talk about next week in our town hall. What's going to be at the Chocolate Lovers Festival and why should we go? February 7th, the hybrid meeting. It will be in the training room, not in the kitchen at Mason Enterprise Center. So it's a different building, but it's in that same courtyard. We'll send out more details about it. If you're interested in having a table or being there or inviting folks, again, it will be hybrid, but we'd love to have a big group of people there. And we probably will be having that in-person meeting the first Wednesday of each month in that big training room. So we can start to grow and expand our in-person presence too. If you're interested in presenting, please let us know. We do have a presenter on the 7th. So if you're interested in other dates in February, we're happy to help you prepare. And we have some new folks who joined us today. So if you're interested, reach out or drop a note in chat and we will follow up with you. You can follow us on social. And you can also, if you scan that QR code, you'll have access to apply as well as to fill out the presentation form. Once you fill out the form, it automatically creates your slide deck, which just makes it easier as a starting point. If you did not get a chance to check in, you can scan that QR code. I'm going to stop recording and stop our live stream. So if anybody needs anything,